Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jump and today I'll be doing my top 5 favourite mini bosses in video games. Now, mini bosses, I would say when it comes to video games as a whole, it's a good sort of challenge, I would say, when you're in a particular dungeon, because they are sort of a test before you fight the main boss of that dungeon. Take the Zelda series, for example. They have that series of games has a variety of dungeons, each of which has their own unique mini bosses, as well as their own unique main bosses. And I feel like a lot of the mini bosses are a nice sort of challenge before the boss of that particular temple. And yeah, I feel like with the mini bosses that I'll be talking about in this video, a lot of them are quite nice to have a challenge against and stuff, that sort of stuff. So yeah. For number 5 is the Reaper from the Persona series. Now, with this mini boss, you can find it in a variety of the areas you can find in the game. So if you're playing like Persona 3 Reload, Portable, Feast, or the original Persona 3, you can find it in Tartarus. If you're playing Persona 4 or Persona 4 Golden, you can find it in the TV world, or if you're playing Persona 5 or Royal, you can find it in Mementos. And the ways you can find it are quite interesting because each way to encounter the Reaper is different and unique. For example, in Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, if you open enough chests, you will then summon the Reaper. If you're playing in Persona 5 and Royal, if you wait in a particular area of Mementos that's not a safe room, you can then find the Reaper. And I think the same is kind of similar for Persona 3 and Reload and Portable, I believe. Or it's either something like that in like when it comes to waiting around in a particular room, or it's you find enough skull and crossbone cards, I believe. It's one or the other. I don't know how to remember. I think it is one of the two, but yeah. But even though I think finding the Reaper is unique in each game, and it's pretty easy depending on which game you play. Because in Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, for example, there are two easy ways of fighting it. In Persona 5, the original, there are two specific days in which enemies will have despair, and I think that's during flu season, I believe. And I think that can only be found on 2 days, and the Reaper has a chance of getting despair, and in a few turns it will be defeated. But if you're playing in Persona 5 Royal, the Reaper won't have it, and you can then use either, I believe, Yoshitsune or Izanagi no Okami Pikoro, which is basically a broken persona, as well as Yoshitsune, but you have to do it under specific circumstances, like you have to fuse specific personas together to try and get them to try and make a broken Yoshitsune. I'll probably try and find a video that I remember I watched about making a god tier Yoshitsune. So yeah, if you want to make your own god tier Yoshitsune, you can find the video that I'll find in the description below. So yeah, for number 4 is the twins from Persona 5 as well as Royal. So that's Caroline and Justine, and these are optional bosses that you can unlock in the New Game Plus of both games, and I would say that they are tough. They're quite tough bosses because they are part of the Velvet Room. They have access to 100 plus personas, and they are quite tough. And if you don't fight them, or if you don't beat them in a specific amount of turns, then they will critical hit all of your party members and then do an all-out attack, and that can be very surprising, and yeah, and they can be quite tough at first, but again, similar to the Reaper, they can be fought quite easily. So unlike the Reaper, they don't have despair on them, or they can't get despair, I believe. So you can use either if you're playing Royal, Yoshitsune no Okami Picaro, or if you're playing both versions, use Yoshitsune. Again, I'll be definitely putting a video of how to build your own powerful Yoshitsune in the description below, so you can use that persona to fight them. So yeah. For number 3 are the main Pokemon rivals from the Pokemon series. Now with this one, I feel like it. I think with this particular where they are, I think they are a good sort of halfway point. I would say, in that some of them are challenging and are memorable when it comes to the Pokemon rivals, but then some of them are either less memorable or quite easy to fight. And yeah, I can definitely see when it comes to their later series like X and Y onwards, because with X and Y, you had the whole experience share turned on for your party members, or all of your team for your Pokemon, and then that will make the game easier. And then from Sun and Moon and onwards, your rival would choose the Pokemon that's weak against yours. And at least with like X and Y, because you had two rivals that also chose starters, you had one starter that chose the one that was stronger against yours, and the other one that was weak against yours. So there was kind of a good middle ground. But with the rivals from Sun and Moon onwards, they would always pick the one that's weak against yours. But at least with like Blue or Barry or Silver, with those rivals, they always chose the starter that was stronger against yours, and you had to really think about how to use specific moves, use different types, that sort of thing. And yeah, that's why I think that this particular part is why the rivals are from the Pokemon series are halfway on this list. They're not challenging, but well for some of them, but some of them can be challenging if you're underleveled and if you have that sort of thing. So yeah, that's how I feel about this particular part of the list. So yeah, for number 2 are is the Sandship as well as the Skykeep robots. Now these are pretty much the same. You could just plop one or the other into the other fight, and then you wouldn't probably tell the difference. And the whole thing of this boss, or these mini bosses, is that it's essentially a sort of walk the plank sort of fight, especially when it comes to the Sandship one, because you're basically on a giant old rundown sandship, or basically massive ship that holds Neru's flame. And what I like about this fight is that after each of the robots have lost specific swords or part of their metal arm has been destroyed, the gate that's locked you in keeps on moving. So it's a really tense, interesting fight, and this relies you on you blocking the attacks, using different sword techniques instead of just relying on one or two. And yeah, I think these fights are quite cool. And the reason why I'm calling them the robots because is that they do have specific names. But it's just that I don't remember them. All I know is that one is the mini boss for the Skykeep, and the other one is the one that took over the Sandship that holds Lineary's flame. So yeah, but other than that, I do enjoy these fights, and I think they're quite cool, and I think they are a good challenge for what's to come at those parts of the games or of the game. So yeah, and for number 1 are the Kle Hawks from Tears of the Kingdom. Now with these fights, I think they're probably the most challenging roaming mini boss out of all of the roaming bosses that you see in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And even though the Kle Hawks weren't in Breath of the Wild, I still feel like if you take the roaming bosses and from both the world and the ones from Tears of the Kingdom, they're kind of a lot of them are the same because you've got the Moldugas, you've got the Stone Taluses, you've got the Hinox and Stalnoxes in both games, but then in Tears of the Kingdom, you've got a few additional ones like the Kle Hawks, you've also got the Foxes and the Constructs. But with the Kle Hawks, I think they are pretty much the pinnacle. I think they are the top tier of what roaming bosses should be like in both Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. And yeah, and I do like how there's four variants. You've got the fire one, the electric one, the ice one, and the king one. And they all function the same way, but they all have their own elemental heads. So the fire one has fire heads, the ice one has ice heads, the electric one has electric heads, and the king Kle Hawk, the strongest one of them all, I would say, has one head for each of the other variants. So you've got one head for the ice one head for the fire one, and one head for the electric one. And these, I would say, are pretty much the most challenging roaming mini boss in the whole game. And I do like how you can find them in either the sky or in Hyrule Field, depending on where you are, or in you can find the King Kle Hawk in the depths. I think it's under where one of the sky towers are. So yeah, that's quite cool. And yeah, I think with the Kle Hawks, they're a really good challenge, and it's a really tough challenge because you have to make sure that not only do you have to avoid their attacks, but also you have to make sure you hit all their heads so you can do a lot more damage to the main body. And yeah, I think with each of the Kle Hawks, they're just a fun fight, and I do like how they all have their own sort of like weather effects. Because if you fight the fire Kle Hawk on the bridge of Hylia, you'll have a lot more of a warm climate. And if you fight the electric Kle Hawk, you'll see lightning and thunder and lightning will come about. So you have to make sure you have an armor set like the rubber armor or the lightning helm that you get from the from the Yiga clan, so that you won't get affected by the lightning. So yeah, so that's quite cool. And I would say a quick tip is that try and use key cycles and a bow that has that uses multi-shot arrows. So something like the Lionel arrows or the Lionel bows and the duplex bows, because they have they can use multiple attacks or multiple hits. So yeah, I would say overall the Kle Hawks are probably the best sort of mini boss that you can fight, because they all have their own unique challenges, and it feels so satisfying when you finally take out one of them, because it makes you feel like you can take out the others. But I would say try and prepare first. Try and have enough hearts, because they pack a punch. Also have enough weapons and bows and stuff to try and take them out, and try and pack enough Keyside balls to try and use them to hone in on each of the different heads. So yeah, so that's been my top 5 favourite mini bosses in video games. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.